right and center to face the people who he has impoverished and oppressed and brought life for many years. He banned campaigns, but he went on to send his lieutenants, RDCs, and ministers to hold rallies like you all saw. In our case, the COVID-19 pandemic was used as an excuse to clamp down on us. I survived 3 attempts on my life, while my comrades that I was with survived even many more. Some of our friends that I mentioned, like Frank Senteza, did not survive. But although we recently released the names of 19 people who we verified to have been murdered by the regime during our campaign, we know that many more lives have been lost, and we continue to look out for them and their relatives, and we shall be communicating with them well. All of you remember that many people, including the celebrated music producer Dan Magic and many other comrades, sustained grave injuries. 2 weeks, the date of voting, my entire campaign team was arrested and subjected to all manner of torture and humiliation before being thrown into a jail where they are languishing up to the present day. Nubian Lee, Eddie Mutwe, Dan Magic, Bobi Young, Sheriff Naja, and many others are languishing in Chitalia prison simply for being on my campaign team. A few days ago, I had the opportunity of visiting those that are in Chitalia government prison, and they spoke of how they were subjected to unimaginable humiliation and torture while at Kasaja Girwa military prison in Masaka. That was before they were transferred to Machinge military prison and eventually Chitalia. They told me that before they were taken to Chitalia, they were taken through 7 prisons. 7. The election day itself was as absurd as the campaign. Scared to his skin, Museveni switched off the internet and ordered media houses not to cover or even declare results from the polling stations as they came in. The national election observers had already been thrown out of the country. Observers from the USA were denied accreditation. Neither the European Union or the Commonwealth observers were allowed to observe the election. Museveni knew clearly that if he had dared to invite them, he would be exposed for who he really is, a shameless election thief. Several foreign journalists were deported from Uganda, while many others were denied accreditation, a clear legal requirement. But even Ugandan journalists were required to have accreditation to cover elections, which of course the High Court ruled as illegal, only that the order came in after the election had been finished. Very conspicuous. With the state of affairs, Museveni, aided by Mr. Byabakama and the Electoral Commission and the military, had a field day. They rigged the election to unprecedented levels. This, like I've been saying, has been the most rigged election in the history of Uganda. 1. How Museveni rigged the election. A reading of the election results shows that the Byabakama Commission rigged this election brainlessly. The rigging was done in such an amateurish way that it does not require any sense of wisdom for anybody to understand it. A. Massive ballot stuffing. Firstly, in the most crude manner, General Museveni carried out so much ballot stuffing in very many districts across the country. The stuffing was mostly carried out by the military officers who were transported in military trucks from polling station to polling station, taking all the available ballot papers in favor of General Museveni. The affidavits to that effect were rejected by Mr. Owinyi-Dolo, but we have the evidence right here. B. The results not entirely entered. Results from various polling stations were omitted in the final declaration. Without any justification, and yet they were duly filled and signed DR forms. We have them; they are present here. Examples are Banda Primary School, Base Camp, Lower Market A to L, Base Camp, Lower Market M to Z, Kampungu Primary School, Township, Namandu Nkoyoyo's home, Selina Primary School A to K, Kisalu, Kisalu, in brackets KIT, Muge in Chebando, Vocational Training Center in Chebando, Progressive Primary School N to Z, Chidodo A to J, Chikonjo, and very many others. The affidavits to that effect, ladies and gentlemen, and all the evidence is present here with us now. C, the deliberate reduction of my results. In very many cases, results declared by the Electoral Commission indicate that I was given less votes than I actually got, while General Museveni was given many more votes than he actually attained in the respective DR forms. This irregularity was evident in hundreds of polling stations, including Kafureka Compound, Wantaha 1, Otuboi Primary School, Opilitok A Primary School, Otuboi Township Primary School, Abinemi Mango Tree, Kachilo Primary School, Omodoi Primary School, Sangai PA Church PAG, Kalachi Primary School, Ipenet Primary School, Kakisim Catholic Church, Okolai Primary School, Calvario Catholic Church, Opungure Primary School, Kagaga Primary School, Elef East Church, Jerusalem Worship Center, and Weza Primary School, and very many others. Those who had been following the goings on will remember that last week the Electoral Commission exposed itself when they put up a DRA form from where my results were deliberately changed, reduced from 84 to 8 at Atiang polling station in Nebi district. That fake declaration form was posted by the Electoral Commission, but here with us today we have the original DRA form, and this outright theft is very clear, ladies and gentlemen. D, the deliberate increase of General Museveni's results. At over 1,700 polling stations, 1,700 polling stations, results from the Electoral Commission compared to the DRA forms in our position indicate a deliberate intention to increase the results of Museveni unfairly in selected polling stations. Just to give examples, General Museveni's results were increased at Kera Primary School, at Wakaba Lower Petrol Station, at Mirizaku 3, at Achutekum, at Kiriabulo Catholic Church, at Mahanga Primary School, at Muchomo Market Ground, at Chaputereka Catholic School, at Kawujani Primary School, and at Lango Cooperative Union Store. Conversely, results from the Electoral Commission compared to the DRA forms in our position indicate deliberate effort to decrease my results unfairly in selected polling stations. For instance, my tally was decreased in the declared Electoral Commission results for the following stations: in Visanje Primary School, in Anyang, in Chinami Playground, in Rwangunga Catholic Church, in Rock of Ages, in Chitabo Pentecostal Church, and in Husengere Primary School, A.M. E, where the indicated results exceed the registered voters. At very many polling stations, ladies and gentlemen, the number of votes indicated on the DRA forms exceeded by far the total number of registered voters. This trend was widespread, and to mention but a few: Ugula Primary School, a polling station, St. Jude polling station, and many others. F, 100% voter turnout, as in all voters turned up and voted. To understand how Museveni lacks any sense of shame, he claimed that at 408 polling stations, 100% of the registered voters, including the dead, turned up to vote. At many others, their claim was that the voter turnout was between 95 and 99%. It is not only impractical to make such a claim, but it's also unsmart and unwise. We have evidence that some of the registered voters at those polling stations were long dead, and somehow Yabakama claimed that they resurrected and voted. I'll give a quick example. In Buyanja, at a village called Rwaweva, that is in my home in Gomba, we have relatives that live there. We know that some of our relatives actually did not show up to vote because 4 of them had run off because they were being hunted. 1 had been arrested and 2 women were heavily pregnant. They never showed up to vote. They are registered voters in that polling station. However, Mr. Byabakama claims that 100% of the registered voters turned up and voted. We have evidences here. We have death certificates of people that we know that had died long before the election. We have evidence that those of our family members and relatives did not actually vote. We have their affidavits, and those are the affidavits that the Chief Justice, Mr. Winyidolo, rejected to take. G. Wrong results and mismatch between Electoral Commission and the actual declaration of result forms. In some cases, the results declared by the Electoral Commission were entirely wrong compared to the corresponding declaration forms. For instance, in Budaka district at Nachibulu Old Court N to Z, declaration forms indicate that I scored 106 votes and General Museveni 110 votes, but the Electoral Commission declared 127 for me and 137 for General Museveni. The same error was recorded in Nyarudea playground, in Kabira, in Katiti, and in Kalasa Secondary School. It was declared also in front of Victoria's Primary School, playgrounds A to M, in Tabongo Trading Center, in Ruterugara playground, in Open Gate Trading Center, and Rubira Trading Center. It is therefore not clear where the Electoral Commission got the results they declared. Ladies and gentlemen, a list of the polling stations with irregularities is attached here. We are going to share that on the social media, and we are going to give you copies, hard and soft. So knowing the kind of election fraud he had just committed, General Museveni quickly moved and put me under house arrest with hundreds of soldiers surrounding my home. And you all remember, this office, our head office, was surrounded. Having disabled our U-Vote app by switching off the internet, they knew we were still determined to tally our results, so they immediately embarked on arresting and abducting our coordinators and other comrades, who we had sent to collect the declaration forms from the field. Gordon Agaba, Natumanya Andrew were abducted from Jinda, detained, and thousands of declaration forms were confiscated from them. Oyech Gerard and other comrades who had collected forms from northern Uganda were picked up from their hotel room and taken to a safe house, Kololo, where the forms were taken from them before they were released. Kajimu Umar, who does stationary work for us and had thousands of DR forms to make copies from, was arrested from his workplace on Nasa Road by heavily armed military personnel. Another comrade who was kidnapped in Wandegea on his way to the secretariat bringing 600 forms, and all were taken away from him. Other persons were attacked from the distant districts on the orders of the RDCs, and the forms were taken away from them. In total, the forms which were confiscated and never returned by the security agencies are 7,281. There are few forms which the Directorate of Intelligence returned when we wrote to them demanding for the forms. All other forms have up to now not been returned. But in spite of the regime's desperate effort to deprive us of the authentic declaration forms, we were able to have at least 25,034 DR forms out of the total of the 34,684 from polling stations nationwide. The DR forms which were stolen and are still in possession of the police and the military are 7,281. I'll say that again for clarity. 7,281. The DR forms which we are not able to collect, from the field were 2,396. This means that the total number of the DR forms we currently don't have in our possession are 9,677. For this, we relied on the Electoral Commission DR forms, even when we don't trust them. What do these DR forms say? That's a very important question. The DR forms prove that we won the election by 54.19%. I will say that again. The declaration forms that we were able to access in all different ways indicate that we won the election by 54.19%, despite the massive ballot stuffing and other forms of rigging. We therefore want to inform the nation that we won the January 14th presidential election this year.
People power! Our power! People power!
Thank you. And congratulations. Now, because we were not declared as winners, we decided to petition the Supreme Court, the 2021 presidential election petition. On 1st February 2021, I filed in the Supreme Court of Uganda presidential election petition number 1 of 2021, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert versus Yoweri Museveni Kaguta Muhabulwa and 2 others, challenging the purported election of General Museveni as the winner of the 2021 presidential election. My petition was premised on 3 grounds, namely, that there was no compliance with the relevant provisions of the law. The election was invalid on grounds that it was not conducted in accordance with the principles laid down in our Constitution and the Presidential Election Act of 2005 as amended, among other relevant laws, to the extent that, among others, 1, the RDCs as well as police and military officers systematically blocked me without lawful justification from holding any presidential consultation in any part of Uganda, including Wakiso, Gulu, Lira, Jumani, Jumbe, Arua, and Zombo. And they did this despite officially notifying the Electoral Commission on the 3rd of December 2019 that I intended to conduct consultation, and despite the same being approved on 9th December 2019. 2. In June 2020, the Electoral Commission arbitrarily and illegally decreed campaign guidelines on General Museveni's orders without consulting other stakeholders. These guidelines ultimately hindered a free and fair campaign as they were selectively imposed against my supporters and me to the benefit and advantage of General Museveni. RDCs, as well as police officers and military officers, among other state actors, systematically blocked me from holding campaign meetings in over 60% of Uganda's districts, and blocking me completely from even stepping foot in at least 30% of the districts. On 13th January 2021, Uganda Communications Commission, ostensibly acting on the orders of the National Security Council, which General Museveni chairs, ordered the service providers to switch off access to the internet and later mobile money services shortly before, during, and after the day of the election, thereby impeding free flow of information among the voters, as well as frustrating efforts to facilitate my polling agents. The Electoral Commission acted without transparency when it announced and declared provisional results of the 2021 presidential elections without declaration forms from the relevant polling stations and tally sheets from the relevant district returning officers, contrary to the law, in a manner that cast doubt in the source and authenticity of the results. Final results later declared by the Electoral Commission were based on tally sheets and DRR forms bearing dates reading 18th January 2021, 4 days later than when they ought to have been conclusively there. At all material times while reading the provisional results, the National Tally Center was swarmed by Museveni's SFC presidential guards who wore Electoral Commission t-shirts and caps to disguise themselves, and they stood next to Mr. Byabakama, the Electoral Commission chairperson, as he read the results. You all saw that. You even saw him stammering. B. General Museveni was not qualified to contest for the presidential office. I say that again. General Museveni was not qualified to contest for the presidential seat. Section 4B of the Presidential Election Act of 2005, as amended, disqualifies from the election for president a person holding or acting in an office, the functions of which involve a responsibility for in connection with the conduct of an election. At the time of this nomination, General Museveni was holding the offices of the head of state, the head of government, commander-in-chief, and chairperson of the National Security Council, which offices are required by law to ensure the equal protection of presidential candidates as well as adequate provision of security at the presidential candidates' campaign meetings. As the nation witnessed, ladies and gentlemen, General Museveni instead used these offices to perpetuate unmitigated and unhindered terror against me, my agents, the campaign team members, my supporters, before, during, and after the presidential campaign and presidential election. C. General Museveni and all his agents / supporters on his orders and / or with his knowledge and approval committed several illegal practices and other electoral offenses. RDCs, the resident district commissioners across Uganda, such as Darius Nandinda of Kabale and Nakamya Harriet of Rubirizi, as well as police and military officers led by General Museveni's SFC guards, destroyed my campaign posters and replaced them with those of General Museveni. In one video shot between 18th and 19th of November 2020, armed security operatives can be seen chasing and later shooting down a man who was running while carrying my campaign banner. That young man died. Nobody has ever been held accountable for his murder. During the election period, General Museveni and all his agents, with this knowledge and approval, bribed several former supporters of mine or members of my party, including Jasper Ebare, Angaria Godwin, and so on, with money, with jobs, and with other gifts, including cars. And this was to influence them to vote for him instead of voting for me. Also gave 300,000 to each of Uganda's 70,626 village local council committees for distribution in the villages to bribe voters. This was done countrywide. That was massive scale bribery. On more than 80% of the days I conducted campaigns, including on the 13th, the 15th, the 18th, the 19th, and the 25th of November 2020. And on the 1st, and the 6th, and the 10th, the 11th, the 24th, the 27th, and on the 30th of December 2020, military and police officers violently humiliated, maimed, inflicted grievous bodily harm and excruciating pain onto me, my campaign team, and my supporters. On several dates, particularly the 18th and 19th in November 2020, and on the 27th of November, during the campaign period, police and military officers murdered more than 100 people suspected of supporting me. And members of my campaign team, such as Frank Senteza Kalibala, who was deliberately knocked down and killed by a military truck. Shortly before and on voting day, police and military officers in several parts of the country arrested my agents, confiscated their appointment letters, facilitation and logistics, which frustrated my ability to efficiently monitor and supervise the election process. Probably you would have 100% of the DR forms here. This happened, for instance, on the 12th of January 2021, when my agent, Mr. Aman Aineviona, was brutally arrested, and this was on camera, from Sun City Hotel in Mira, where he had gone to distribute appointment letters for my polling day agents, and he was detained at Lira police station for several days. On 14th January, police in Okongi district beat and arrested my supervisor, Laula Arthur, as he protested the electoral malpractices by General Museveni's agents. Unfortunately, on the 5th of February 2021, the Supreme Court blocked me from amending the petition to add the ground that General Museveni was actually not qualified for election as president. And later, on the 15th of February 2021, they refused to receive around 200 affidavits containing critical evidence upon which we would have based to prove our case against General Museveni and his conspirators in the Supreme Court of Uganda. In both the cited instances, the Supreme Court acted as de facto respondent in the petition rather than the arbiter of justice, when it conveniently relied on technicalities to reject our evidence without any prior objection to the evidence by General Museveni and his co-respondent, and without first according me as the petitioner an opportunity to be heard. They did that. That was unfair. In one instance, the court's registrar went as far as swearing an affidavit opposing the evidence that we intended to file. In my opinion, the court demonstrated bias against me in several incidents, such as when it blocked me from filing the petition on a Saturday, that was 30th January 2021, but it allowed General Museveni to file his defense on a Saturday on 6th February 2021. Through its actions on the 5th and on the 15th of February 2021, when Chief Justice Alphonse Owiny-Dollo met and made material requests to General Museveni on the 5th, on the 10th, and on the 16th of February, as if to imply that the petition had already been determined in General Museveni's favor. And later, during the court's proceedings, that was on the 19th of February 2021, Chief Justice Owini Doro scornfully implored me to apply Plan B if I have no confidence in the court of law, among other incidents. Accordingly, when it became evident that the Supreme Court was not handling the petition with the dictates of justice, equity, and impartiality and fairness as required by the Judicial Code required by the Judicial Code of Conduct and by the law, I was left with no option but to withdraw from the Supreme Court. Mr. Byabakama and his 6 commissioners had suffocated the voice of the people of Uganda, and here was the Chief Justice Alfonso Wenyidoro also mocking the people of Uganda. All these individuals, ladies and gentlemen, hold their offices in trust of the people of Uganda, because by law they're supposed to be serving the people of Uganda, but they decided to betray that trust and decided to work for the one that appointed them, that is General Museveni. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ugandans, today I am here to announce once again to all of you here and those watching us from afar that we are on our own. We have brought the case back to the court of the people, and the people of Uganda must now sit and pass judgment in this matter.
People power, 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 power. People power.
I will remind you that in 1980, that is 40 years ago, General Museveni took part in an election which he lost miserably. He was not the second, neither was he the third. He claimed that the election had been rigged and took our people to the bush to fight and reclaim the victory. Hundreds of our people died, mothers, fathers, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers, etc. All these people died in pursuit for a better country, for the rule of law, for real democracy. But what has Museveni done? He has betrayed the blood of our people and done many times worse than the regime that he castigated for rigging the election. Ugandans must now rise to the occasion and resist Museveni and his regime of blood. As we've been saying, our strategy is non-violent and lawful. I will say it again for clarity. Our strategy is non-violent and it is lawful. We shall not hold guns like Museveni did. Ours is going to be peaceful but very, very, very assertive. However, our philosophy also stands firm that people power is stronger than the people in power. Article 3 of our country's constitution empowers the citizens of Uganda to do all in their power to restore the constitutional order once it has been usurped, just like it has been done under the Museveni regime. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our next course of action. That is the next phase of our struggle. I want to call upon all of you, ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, to rise up peacefully and unarmed. I say it again. I call upon you to rise up peacefully, unarmed, and demonstrate against a regime that has oppressed us. They've oppressed us, exploited us, and turned into slaves in our own country. This is a time when we must do this for ourselves, for our children, and for our children's children. I want to remind all of you that we have an opportunity to invoke Article 29 of the Constitution of Uganda, which unequivocally guarantees that the citizens of Uganda have the right to demonstrate peacefully and unarmed. I say it again. Article 29 of our Constitution empowers us to demonstrate peacefully and unarmed against any injustice. And that's exactly what we are calling you upon to do. Call upon all the citizens who feel oppressed, the women whose sons are missing, the Ugandans who voted and your results were shortchanged, all the oppressed Ugandans come out and peacefully demonstrate against that impunity. We invite you to march to your respective district offices and seek answers. Those who cannot march, demonstrate in your own way, as long as it is lawful and non-violent. I make this call to all Ugandans in the diaspora as well. I appreciate those of you that have already risen up in defense of Uganda's democratic rights. I've seen quite a number of fellow Ugandans in the diaspora demonstrating peacefully. We can pick a leaf, ladies and gentlemen, and do the same right here at home. We are protesting, ladies and gentlemen, for clarity. We are protesting with 4 demands. Number 1, as we indicated that we actually won the 2021 presidential election, Museveni declared himself president. We demand that he returns the victory of the people of Uganda. If he says that he indeed won this election, there must be audits. There must be an audit to this election. It must be overseen by an independent body. Election audits have been used in other countries, including Sierra Leone, Haiti, and Afghanistan. In Sierra Leone, you remember it was in 2007. In Haiti, it was in 2010. And in Afghanistan, it was in 2009 and 2014, among others. Secondly, we demand that General Museveni immediately puts an end to the abduction and kidnap of our people who are taken away every day. We demand that the security agencies return our people. We want those that have been abducted returned. Those that are being held incommunicado, those that are being held in torture chambers and dungeons, we want them freed unconditionally. Those that they claim have cases to answer, let them present them in competent courts. Those that are sick, we want them to take them to hospital. And those that they've murdered, we want their bodies so that we can afford them decent burials. We want our people, bring back our people. Number 3, we demand that General Museveni releases all political prisoners with immediate effect. It is not a crime to support somebody. If it was a crime, there shouldn't have been presidential elections. But all of you remember that my entire campaign team was arrested and they are languishing in prison. Those are prisoners of conscience. We demand their immediate release. And finally, we are demanding that General Museveni immediately stops trying civilians in military courts. By law, civilians are not supposed to be tried in military courts. So we demand that those, our people who are not soldiers, are presented either in a civilian court or are released with immediate effect. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for God and our country.
People power!
Simanyi oba byonna mwagala mbibadire mu Luganda naye birumemu Luganda basebo ne banyamo eno statement oba kwe kwasanguza kwaffe nga National Unity Platform ku nziba ya Kalulu, Vulugu yali mu Kalulu n'okuyita bannayuganda okubaako kye bakolawo. Mwena mujjukira 14 mwezi ogw'olubereberye bagenda mu kulonda. Bannayuganda bonna bonna baali bamaze okukyoleka tebaagala nkyukakyuka, naye nga bwe mujjukira Mwami Museveni olw'okutya bwe yalina kuba yali amanyi bannayuganda tebaagala, yateekawo Vulugu ow'ekika ekyawaggulu, mwali okutugaana okukola kampeyini, mwali okutta abantu baffe, mwali okutusiba n'ebirala bwe bityo. Naye nga tunatera okutuuka okulonda, yakwata kampeyini tiimu yaffe yonna yonna ne bajjako intaneti ne teeka ekifuba ku bannamawulire abawano ne babalemesa okuripootinga ebyo byali biva mu kulonda ne bagaana ne bannamawulire abava ebweru w'eggwanga okujja okuripootinga ebyali bigenda mu maaso kubanga yali amanyi singa banaripootinga ebyali bigenda mu maaso bagenda mulabisa eri ensi yonna. Ebyo nga biri bwe bityo Mwami Museveni yagenda maaso n'okubba obululu mu ngeri etabangawoko wano mu Uganda kubanga yali amanyi kyeyali akoze. Mu bwangu obw'ekitalo yalagira amagye ne poliisi ne bawamba amaka gange ne bansibira ewaka ne tebakomaawo ne ofiisi zaffe ez'ekibiina kyaffe ekya National Unity Platform ne bazibulungula n'amagye. Ali mu busibe okumala ennaku 11 naye ng'amateeka galagira nti omuntu yenna bw'aba n'okwemulugunya alina kuddukira mu mbuga z'amateeka. Kkooti yagenda okunta babulayo ennaku 4 zokka okugenda mu kkooti naye era twakola kwetoloola essaawa okulaba nga tuteekateeka omusango tukutwala mu kkooti. Omusango twagutwala mu kkooti naye nga bwe muzze mulaba baganda bange kkooti yalaga kyekubiira twagireetera obujulizi nga bwe mubulaba wano nga mwe muli videos z'abasirikale n'abapoliisi ez'abamagye n'abapoliisi nga batikkinga obululu, videos zaalimu obumenyi bw'amateeka obw'ekitalo. Twabaleetera evidence ne affidavit eziraga nti akakiiko k'ebyokulonda wadde kaalaga nti abantu mu bitundu ebisukka mu 1000 Gen. Museveni yali asiize byali bikyamu mu 10 n'ebikumi bya polling station oba awalondebwa baali balaze nti abantu 100 ku 100 nga bwe beewandiisa bwe baze ne balonda. Naye nga bwe nze mbanyonnyola mu bitundu bingi nnyo abantu abasinga baali baafa era ne death certificate oba certificate ezikakasa okufa kwabwe amwezire. Awantu awamu abeewunyisa ewaffe Gomba ku kyalo kye bayita Lwaweeba tetulina ab'enganda zaffe abeewandiisizaawo naye nga tebalonda kubanga abamu baali banoonyezebwa nga badduse, abamu baali bakwatiddwa ate abamu baalina embuto nkulu abatasobola kubeerawo. Naye Mwami Byabakama ye najja n'agamba nti abantu bonna nga bwe beewandiisa balonda. Tulina obujulizi omuli zi death certificate eziraga nti abo abantu ezono ali registered ng'omulonzi naye yafa ng'ebula omwaka gumu akalulu kabeewo naye nga Mwami Byabakama akulaga naye yajja n'alonda n'ebirala ebifaanana bwe bityo. Obujulizi bungi nga bwe mbulaba wano basebo ne bannyabo ekkooti ensukkulumu yabugaana naye ate ng'obujulizi obw'ekika bwe kitu ekkooti ensukkulumu yabukkirizanga mu misango gy'abantu abalala gye baaloota mu 2001, 2006 ne mu 2016. So ebyo bwe bibeera bwe bityo twasalawo nga tumaze okulaba nti ekkooti ensukkulumu ne Ssaabalamuzi Owiny-Dollo alina kyekubiira ate ng'ali asinkana Gen. Museveni mu lwatu era tutegeezebwa nti baali basinkana ne mu kyama. Twalaba nga tagenda kuwa bannayuganda bwenkanya okugyayo omusango ogwo. Oluvannyuma lwa Mwami Byabakama n'akakiiko ke ak'abantu 6 nga bamaze kulinnyirira eddoboozi ly'abannayuganda lye basitula nga 14 January n'oluvannyuma lw'ekkooti ensukkulumu gye twali tusuubiramu obwenkanya okukakasa nti egenda kuwa bannayuganda bwenkanya, twasazeewo tugyeyo musango era olunaku lwaleero basebo ne bannyabo mu butongole njagala okuloopa omusango ogwo eri mwenna bannayuganda. Era nga njagala okubategeeza nti mmwe mulina obuyinza okweramula ku nsonga eno.
Tutandika leero ssebo.
Ssemateeka wa Uganda abawa obuyinza mu kawaayiro namba 29 okwekalakaasa mu ddembe nga temulina bisi. Nkiddamu, Constitution ya Uganda ssemateeka mu kawaayiro namba 29 ebawa eddembe okwekalakaasa mu ddembe nga mulina okwemulugunya. N'olw'ensonga eyo basebo ne bannyabo eri mwenna ababadde babuuza kiki ekiddako oluvannyuma lw'okuyita mu mitendera gyonna gyonna nga bwe tubadde nga tubategeeza era oluvannyuma lw'okubategeeza nti oluvannyuma lwa byonna okwogerwa n'okukolebwa bannayuganda mwe mugenda okukola okusalawo okusembayo. njagala okutwala omukisa guno okubakowoola mwenna bannayuganda gye muli abali wano n'okwetooloola ensi yonna okusitukiramu mu ddembe nga temulina bwisi mwekalakaase mulage kitali mwekalakasa mutya mwekalakasa mu ddembe mwekalakasa nga musitukiramu nga mugenda ku zi woofiisi ezikwatibwako okwetooloola eggwanga lyonna n'abo abatasobola kiri eri gye muli basebo ne banyabo okwekalakasa mu ngeri yonna gye muba musobodde kuba obwongo bungi bwetulina bannayuganda kasita muba nga mukikola mu mateeka ate nga mukikola temuyiwa musaayi. Twagala okwekalakasa nga tubanja ebintu bina. Ekisooka nga bwe tubalaze nti okulonda tekwali kwa mazima ne bwenkanya ate mwami byabakama n'akakiiko ke k'ebyokulonda kalangirira bifu. So tubanja obuwanguzi bwaffe kubanga twawangula. Tubalaze oluvannyuma lw'okufunako declaration forms entono endala nga baziwambye era zetayina ne tukozesa ezo ez'amwami byabakama newankubadde zaalimu bulugu n'ebirumira bingi. Kiragibwa lunye okusinziira ku declaration forms zetulina wano twakalulwako twakawangulira ku bitundu 54 n'obutundutundu 19. Singa tewaliwo okubba oba oliawo twandiwangulidde mu 8 n'omusobo. So n'olw'ensonga eyo tubakunga bannayuganda bannaffe mwenna gye muli okusituka mwekalakase mu ddembe nga mubanja obuwanguzi bwaffe. Ensonga ey'okubiri twagala okwekalakasa era obayita mwenna mwekalakase mu ddembe nga mubanja abantu baffe abazze bawambibwa nga bawambibwa mu zidrooni ne mu motoka endala era kino kibadde kikolebwanga ku biragiro bya mwami Museveni. Twagala amagye poliisi n'ebitongole ebikuumaddembe bikomyewo abantu baffe oba balamu oba bafu. Abo abalamu abawambibwa kati abamu bali myezi abalala wiiki abalala nnaku twagala bakomezebwewo. Abakyali abalamu twagala babatuwe embagirawo bwe bagamba nti babayinako emisango babaleete mu kooti ezikkirizibwa mu mateeka. Abalwadde babatuwe bwe batulugunya nga bakyali balamu babatuwe tubejjanjabire kubanga bantu baffe. Be basse naye nga tebannabatudiza twagala batuwe emirambo gyaffe tusobole okubaziika mu kitiibwa. Twagala bantu baffe. Njagala obbasaba muveeyo mubanje abantu bammwe. Mwe bamaama abakyala bawambibwako abantu baabwe, abaana be batutteko bakitaabwe ne bannyaabwe, n'abazadde abawambibwako abaana baabwe. Twagala okubasaba musitukiremu kubanga yemwe ansa. Ensonga ey'okusatu twagala okubanja abasibe bonna bonna abaasibwa nga tebalina musango wabula nga basibwa olw'ensonga olw'ebirowoozo byabwe, prisoners of conscience. Aba political prisoners bonna tubaagala kubanga si musango omuntu okuwagira omuntu omu n'aleka omuntu omulala. Mwena mujjukira ti campaign team yaffe yonna yonna yawambibwa ne babakwata ne babatulugunya mu nkambi y'amagye Kasajjagirwa ne babakolako ebikolobero bingi nnyo ne bamala ne babatwala mu kooti ey'amagye ne babasiba. Twagala babatuddize embagirawo. Sembayo twagala okubanja mwami Museveni alekeraawo okukwata bannayuganda abatali bannamagye ne babatwala mu kooti ez'amagye. Amateeka ga Uganda gakiteeka lunye nti abantu abatali basirikale tebalina kuwozesebwa mu kooti z'abasirikale. So n'ensonga ezo twagala okubakoola mwenna abasebo ne bannyabo bannayuganda bannaffe abali wano mu Uganda n'abali okwetoola ensi yonna musitukiremu mu ddembe kubanga kikkirizibwa mu mateeka constitution ebawa eddembe eryo. Mwekalakase mu ddembe kubanga bannakyemalira bawulira ddoboozi ly'abantu. Mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala olwakatonda ensi yonna.
Our power. People power.
People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power. Ngaruete tuyambale ngwe. Tuyambale ngwe. Tuyambale ngwe. Olutalo ngaruete tuyambale ngwe. Tulizima mu Uganda empya.
People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
Please be seated. look like they are contented, they don't have any questions. Now the hands shoot up. Okay, very quick addition before we take the questions. So we have showed you the DR forms, the declaration of results forms, and we have over 25,000 of them. And as our president has told you, 7,000 are still in police custody, and 2,000 we were denied the ability to get them. But we got ours, and then we were able to make do with those of the EC, even though we had so many challenges. And we did a tabulation, which gave us a total of 54.19%. And right after here, because we now have soft copies, these declaration of results forms, we are going to upload them on our website. That's www.nupuganda.org. That's www.nupuganda.org. There are so many, we can't have them on Facebook or Twitter, but we can be able to upload them on our website. Of course, Mr. Tibo Habura and his operatives are very notorious for trying to destabilize us. That's why they shut down the internet, social media, destabilize our YouPort app. We hope that they will not mess up with our website. We want them to be able to challenge what we are going to put up on our website. So we are hoping they will not tamper with our website as we upload all these DR forms for Ugandans to be able to see how the election did transpire. And this 54.19% we are saying was even as a result of all the ballot stuffing and all the other challenges that did happen. This is what we have as is. The President of Wabagambye, Twina DR forms, izisuka mutwale biri waliwo akasamba akakyali ne poliisi ekyaziremedde n'enkumi bbiri endala